You'll remember this from the DNC convention. I saw this and I watched Tim Walz pull his son across the stage, and I didn't think it was the thing that everybody wanted it to be on the right, that he was abusing his kids. He does yank his arm. And of course, the people at Snopes jumped in, and we can watch this again. Tim Walz yanking his kid's arm. Kid's big enough that you're not going to knock the kid down. A little bit rough, big moment for dad. Dad's trying to be installed as a VP. Dad knows he's there to act like the tough guy. I remember Tim Walz saying, "Oh, because I can talk to men, because I can change oil." I'll never get over that man able to change oil in a truck without getting his hands dirty. Yahoo News came in with a fact check from Snopes. Fact check! No, video doesn't show Walz being abusive towards son at the 2024 DNC. This is what they wrote. A video showed in Tim Walz is abusing his 7-year-old son, Gus, on stage at the 2024 Democrat National Convention. That's the question or the claim. Rating miscaptioned. The context. The video in question showed Walz pulling his son's arm to keep him from walking directly into a teleprompter on the stage. Weeks earlier, Walz and his wife, Gwen, revealed to people that Gus's son has a nonverbal learning disorder, ADHD, and an anxiety disorder. According to both the NVLD Project and the Cleveland Clinic, nonverbal learning disorders can affect visual spatial awareness. He wasn't going to walk into the teleprompter either, if you watch the video very carefully. I think Walz wanted his son to come with him. So why even talk about this? Because of the selective sympathy machine. When they put that out, that their kid had this learning disorders, and you might call it a developmental disorder, although there's a big debate about if ADHD even exists. I don't think it does. I think overly medicated boys exist. I think boys who are trapped in chairs during school when they shouldn't be for all that period of time, I think they exist. I think boys who spend way too much time in front of screens exist. I don't think ADHD is a real thing. I think pharma loves it. But the reason we're talking about it is the selective sympathy machine, because suddenly Gus Walz, who was too anxiety-ridden to speak, had this nonverbal disorder, learning disorder, too much anxiety. He sat down for a long-form, unscripted interview.
Tim Walz's son Gus has a learning disability. Will his visibility help other Americans with disabilities? Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the running mate of Democratic President.
You see the sympathy, the selective sympathy machine? Just listen to the music, look at the images.
Candidate Kamala Harris has spoken openly and affectionately about his 17-year-old son.
Do you see the way they're coloring this openly and affectionately? Which parent doesn't speak affectionately about their kid or even openly?
Gus, who has ADHD, a nonverbal learning disability, and an anxiety disorder. Recently,
and incidentally, why are they shopping this? What was the purpose in this? Did they know Gus was going to supposedly walk into a teleprompter? See, we're building up to the fact that Gus sat down for a sit-down interview, unscripted, long form, edited no doubt into something presentable to us, but the selective sympathy machine continues. Gus driving with a glad Tim there. He probably stopped on the side of the road and changed the oil without getting a finger dirty.
Gwen, both former teachers, shared in an interview with People magazine that they have never seen Gus's conditions as a barrier. Like many American families, it took us some time to figure out how to do everything we could to ensure Gus was set up for success as he grew up, the couple explained.
Man, they spent a lot of time talking about this in the selective sympathy machine. Selective sympathy. Oh, no, we'll get to the selective part. And then there was the interview that they decided to do. We'll get to that as well. This is from Yahoo News, and I just went and searched, from Google rather, and I just went and searched Tim Walz's nonverbal son. What is a nonverbal learning disorder? Tim Walz's son, Gus. Tim and Glenn Walz speak on Gus's learning disorder. Tim Walz's son breaks silent on viral DNC moment. Tim Walz's son has nonverbal learning disorder. Now, there are a lot of people who thought that meant that he was nonverbal, that he didn't speak. But then again, he said during the convention, "That's my dad." They pitched this up front because they wanted you to feel sad for him. Because that's the way they play the game. They needed a pose, a beard. Tim Walz is not a sympathetic person. Tim Walz was the guy who authored the phrase about J.D. Vance that he's weird. Tim Walz is demonstrably weird. He dances oddly. He dresses up in weird outfits. He says weird things. He has weird positions. So they were taking this boy's condition, if you will, and merchandising it. And recently he sat down for a long form interview. Oh, but that selective sympathy thing. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. I have a lot of sympathy for people who cannot afford to go down to Renew Healthcare in Mexico to get stem cells to stop their arthritis, or to avoid back surgery, or to be able to walk again, or to be able to overcome neurological challenges, sometimes results of car crashes, a horse crash, falling off a building, construction accident. All these things can be awful. I have a great amount of sympathy for people who cannot afford to go down and get this to solve things like carpal tunnel, which does not require surgery in many cases. And I have a great bit of curiosity. How do you know? How do you know if you can afford it? Now, I've talked a lot about the incredible care down there, the hyperbaric chamber, the Myers drip IV. I've talked about that. I've talked about the time they spend with you, the dinners with the managing partners. Sounds expensive. Have you looked into it? Have you done a price comparison? And having done that, have you compared that to the outcome of things like back surgeries? Like how many people have to go back and get them again? How long do you heal? What level of movement do you get back? Shoulder surgery. How quick are you going to gain the full mobility of your shoulder again? Does your insurance company care? Have you actually done an analysis of this? Go to renew.healthcare and tell them you're part of the Todd Herman Show family. They'll talk with you about their stem cells sourced only from umbilical cords, world-class lab that they have, their own lab. They handle all their own stuff. They control everything. They even make their own oxygen. They'll tell you what it will cost, how long it will take. If it's something you cannot afford, say, man, I can't afford that. No one's going to judge you. I'm going to feel sad that you can't. I'm blessed to be able to do it. But what if you can afford it? And then the pain is gone and the condition is addressed. It's Renew, RENUE.healthcare. So Gus Waltz, who was too anxiety-ridden to speak in a long-form interview, had this learning disorder, this ADHD, he sat down for an interview. It was long-form and then edited into a package. And it's a journalist so-called named David Begnad.
It lasted 30 seconds, but captured the hearts of millions. But it was his son, Gus, who touched us all. Feeling the intensity of that moment, we all saw him say, "That's my dad."
Okay, can we pause for a second? We all saw him say this is one of the least viewed conventions in history. We all didn't hear him say that or see him. Most people did not. But when you're a storyteller with CBS, and that's how David bills himself, storyteller with CBS, and he's certainly telling a story here, isn't he? Storyteller with CBS, passion for finding heroes in everyday people. Oh, I get it. Okay, I'll stop interrupting.
Who could see it simply as a son bursting with pride. But what came next made it more than that. Some people saw the raw emotion and responded with compassion. Others, cruelty. Then came clarity.
I said I was going to stop interrupting. If you responded to that with cruelty, you did a bad thing. It's a kid. It's a young kid. It's a big emotional thing. He loves his dad. He doesn't understand that his dad is a tool for great evil. But then came clarity. I wonder what the emotional turn here is. Can you guess?
Family shared something personal. 18-year-old Gus has a nonverbal learning disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and an anxiety disorder. Conditions that millions of people live with, but are often misunderstood.
Take me back to that moment. What do you remember?
It was crazy. And I'm like looking at my mom and I'm like, that's my dad. He's right there. He's right in front of all of America, all these people chanting our last name. It was super overwhelming because to me, he's just regular old dad, just normal dad, golfs with me, make food, clean the cars, everything like that. And in that moment, it was something bigger. It was just surreal.
There were some people who were mean about it. What do you remember about that?
I just kind of ignored it, I guess, was the only way to put it. I just continued to do what I do. I just blocked it out because I was just being emotional. Like, there's nothing wrong with showing emotions. And if people are going to say there's something wrong with that, then those are not the people that I want to be associated with.
Seems like a well-spoken kid to me. I know there was the editing. At the Republican convention, Were there any opportunities for sympathy? Were there any parents who lost their kids to illegal immigrants? Or to fentanyl? Or whose sons were left behind in Afghanistan when the people who ran Joe Biden decided to limit our extract point to one commercial airport and then to avail the Taliban of the day, time, and method of our leaving? Was there a profile on that? Are they everyday heroes? They may not have disorders, I guess. Well, then there's this, and this was just a tiny little search. It took me 2 seconds. Why it took 4 years for the Bidens to acknowledge their granddaughter. Biden doesn't acknowledge fifth granddaughter. President Biden would acknowledge his youngest granddaughter. Why does Joe Biden not recognize his granddaughter? Biden acknowledged seventh grandchild after green light. Did the media have any real interest in the sympathy of that? For that girl? For that family to whom Hunter was refusing to pay support despite all the ill-gotten gains from being part of the Biden crime family? See, the selective sympathy tells us everything. It's not sympathy. It's not empathy. It's opportunity. Opportunity to try to humanize Tim Walz, who is, in many ways, uniquely unlikable.